Hello everyone, in this video we are going to talk about graphing two variable inequality on the coordinate plane. So we are working on IXL T.3 Graph, a two variable linear inequality. Even though it says two variable, in the first question we have only one variable. So let's start with the easier question. So this is one of the most problematic type of questions when we have only just one variable in an inequality, because many students think that they are going to graph a diagonal line, or they cannot decide whether it is supposed to be vertical or horizontal. So the first step to this is you just start as if you are going to draw an equation, a line of an equation. That sign, less than, greater than, that's going to tell us what area to shade. We are going to shade. That's what that sign is supposed to do. It'll tell us what side of the line we are supposed to shade. So step one, draw the line. And before that, decide whether it is supposed to be a dotted line or a solid line. So here is the difference. For a solid line, we need to have either one of these two signs, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. In those cases, we draw a solid line. Just like a regular line we have when we draw a line on the coordinate plane. If the sign is less than or just greater than, then we have a dotted line. That is the first distinction that we need to make. So since our sign is just y is less than, the line is going to be a dotted line, not a solid line. So this one is going to look like that, and then that one is going to look like a solid line. That's the difference. So, and then step two, decide what kind of line. Is it going to be vertical, horizontal, diagonal? That part should be the next step. So when it says y is less than -5, that's our y value. The line is going to pass through y equals -5. And that point is, y is the vertical axis over here, and then -5 is right there. If our point is on the vertical axis, we are going to draw the horizontal line. It'll go from left to right, like this. So this is the line that I need, not a vertical line. Let me explain the reason. We are going to draw this line, y equals -5. It means on the line that we draw, all of the points, y values, should be equal to 5, such as this point. What's the coordinates of this point? 8, 5, right? And the y value is 5. Check this point out. It's -7, 5, -5. The y value is still -5. On any point of this line, the y value is always -5. It wouldn't be the case if you draw a vertical line. Now I have my line, but remember I said it is supposed to be a solid line, right? It's supposed to be a dotted line, not a solid line. Excuse me. So let's just convert this into a dotted line. On IXL it says select the line to switch between solid and dotted. So let's just select the line and then turn it into a dotted line. Now I'll clean everything off of the screen. Now I have my line. It is a dotted line because of the lack of equal sign in the inequality. Now I need to shade, but what area am I going to shade? It says y is less than -5. So once you have this point, we are going to either shade below that point or above that point. We are dealing with the vertical axis. Find the y-intercept, plot it, and then look above and below that point. The sign says y is less than, right? Less than 5 or -5. Less than means shade below. Shade all of the numbers that are less than -5. -5 is that point. -6 is less than that. -7, -8, -9. These numbers are all less than. Let me just clear this up. Less than -5. So what we need to do to shade is just think about the numbers. Think about the area that these numbers are in, and then just click that area, and then that's it. All the numbers in that area could be our solution. They could be part of, they are part of our solution set, because all these numbers are less than -5. Now let's submit this and then have another example. Y is greater than 2. Now, since it's not greater than or equal, the line is going to be a dotted line. The point is right here on the y-axis. Let's plot a vertical line passing through that point. It says greater than. All of the numbers for y-axis that are greater than 2, those numbers are 3, 4, 5, 6, and then up. So if you click that area, like just that area, and then shade it, that's it. And then submit it. What did I do? Oh, did I do a solid line? Yeah, I did a solid line. So it is supposed to be a dotted line. As I said before, let's just redo another question. Okay. Here we are working on the vertical line again. The point is -3. Plot your point right here on the y-axis. This time we need a solid line because it says greater than or equal to. Okay, since it says greater than or equal to, we need a solid line. And then it says greater than or equal to. Look at all those numbers on the y-axis that are greater than -3 or equal to -3. Those numbers are -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and up. Starting from -3, of course, because it says equal or greater. And then we click the area that has all these numbers. Any part of that area would work. And then we submit our answer. Let's do one more. This is a good example. Now, y is less than or equal to x. So let's see how we can do this. Let's start with this. Y equals x. Okay, since this one is equal or less, it is a solid line. So let's start from this, y equals x, and then graph that. It's y equals x plus 0, right? This is the y-intercept. I just added that imaginary 0 because there was no number. That means it is plus 0. So now this is like in the form of y equals mx plus b. B is the y-intercept, which is 0. So if the y-intercept is 0, I go to the y-axis, I find that 0, I plot it. This is my y-intercept. And then I'll apply the slope. The slope is the number in front of x. In my original equation, how many x do I have? It is just y equals 1x. So if 1 is my slope, and if the slope is rise over run, right? This is rise over run. What about the run? Can't we just divide any number by 1, but still it will be equal to itself? So rise is 1, run is 1. That tells me go up 1 unit and then down 1 unit, starting from the y-intercept. Go up 1, and then right 1, and then plot the point. Now we are good. Again, remember what kind of line we have. We need to have a solid line. We have our solid line, so we are not going to change it. The only part that is left is shading the area. But what area are we going to shade? Now, let's just focus on, once the y is all by itself, it is pretty simple. What we need to do is pretty simple. This tells us what to do. Shade the area for y that are less than whatever we have on the right side. Don't worry about that. Just look at your y-intercept. That'll work. Just think about your y-intercept, okay? So our y-intercept is 0, right? Oops. Let me just fix that problem. Okay, our y-intercept is 0. So at this point, I have my y-intercept. And all of the numbers that I want to shade should be less than that number. So that point that I just draw the arrow towards is at 0. What numbers are less than 0? -1, -2, -3, and all those numbers, if you just think about the vertical axis, the y-axis, all those numbers are in here. So you're going to shade the area that has these numbers. What area, if you think that the line divides the whole coordinate plane into two pieces, the area that has those numbers is the one that you want to shade. So just go over this and then just click it. You see that whole area, because this is the area that has all those numbers. The other area, let me just unshade this, and then the other area, I didn't shade either one of those numbers. So this is not the area that I want, this is the one that I want. And then the line again is a solid one, and I shaded below that y-intercept. Okay, let's do this one. It's pretty similar, so let's just skip one level. Okay, this is better. Now, we have our starting point. This is again y equals mx plus b kind of thing. Y equals mx plus b. Let's first start with y. Let's just consider that as an equation so that we have a starting point. Negative 4x plus 1. So, when you draw y equals mx plus b, this is always your starting point. The y-intercept, plot it. The y-intercept should be on the y-axis. It's positive 1. That's my point. Start from that point and then do whatever your slope tells you to do. Slope is the number in front of x, right? So the slope is, which is m, that equals to negative 4. And this means rise over run. But then again, I see that the rise is negative 4, but what about the run? It's not in there. What about dividing the whole number by 1 so that it still equals to itself, but I have a run now? So negative 4 for the rise tells me to go down. So this is going to be down 4 unit and then right 1 unit. We have our starting point. We're going to go down 4, right 1, and then plot the second point. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then right 1. Now, the problem with this is I drew a solid line, but my inequality, if this question, that line is for this. If I had an equation, this line would be correct. But in here, look at my original question. I don't have an equal sign. It just says y is less. Less than whatever it is. And if it says less than, shade below your y-intercept. Remember, if it says less than or equal to, you're going to shade below your y-intercept. But before that, let's just fix the type of the line we have. We have a solid line. We want to convert it to a dotted line. And the last part is, since it says y is less than, and there's my y-intercept, I'm going to shade the numbers that are less than this. So all those numbers that are less are in this area. So I'll click that area. That's my answer. Okay? Now let's submit this. And then skip one more level. Let's do this as our last question. Now, the reason this question is one step further is that it is not in the slope-intercept form. So step 1 is get it in the form so that the y is all by itself. So to get that y by itself, we need to get rid of this x. Subtract it. And then left side is going to have the y, bring down your sign, and then negative x and minus 6. Negative x minus 6. This is what we need. So let's just, to have a starting point, let's just plot this. Okay? It's going to be a line. Our starting point is the y-intercept right here. Mx plus b, negative 6 on the y-axis, plot it. And then do whatever your slope tells you to do. This is my slope, negative x, or negative 1x. But negative 1, if that means the rise over run, to have a run, I need to divide it by a 1. And then this first negative 1 for the rise tells me to go down. And then right 1 is what that slope tells me to do. Start from your original point, negative 6, go down 1, right 1. Plot it. Do I need a solid or the dotted line? Looking at the original inequality, it is greater than or equal to. So this one here is greater than or equal to. Since it says equal to, it is a solid line. And since it says greater than, I'll shade above my y-intercept. Let's find the y-intercept. It was this negative 6. I have my solid line. I'll shade above this point. So all these numbers should be shaded. I want to shade that area that has all these numbers. Done. And I'll submit it. So let me see if it gets any harder. No, it's just subtract x and divide by 5. That's what you're gonna do. Let me just do that part. X plus 5y. Let's start with an equality. Subtract x from both sides, and then we will have one more step, which is divide by 5. Divide this by 5, your x by 5, and then the number by 5. So y equals to negative 1 over 5 x minus, divide these two numbers. So your slope is down 1, right 5, and then start from this point. Negative 3 is our starting point. Go down 1 and then right 5. Do we need a solid or dotted line? There's no equal, so turn it into a dotted line. And then it says greater than. When you get the y all by itself, your sign says greater than. So greater than means shade above your point, above your y-intercept. So that would be the answer to this question. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any other questions, guys. This is how you graph a two-variable inequality on a coordinate plane.